Well, hello there. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. How you all doing? Are you enjoying the spring? All right, today we're going to talk about the hidden instability no one talks about as six figures. This is the kind of conversation most people want to avoid because on the surface, nothing is wrong. Nothing looks wrong. Everything looks good. Think about this. When you're with your girlfriends and you have been labeled a goody two shoe, she's too serious. It's kind of like that now, where the reason you've been labeled that is because you kind of take things to the next level. You're never just satisfied with the status quo. This is the kind of conversation we're going to have today. We're going to talk about something that seemingly don't need to be addressed, but you absolutely need to address it because it's the difference between living life on purpose and just letting life live you. And I always say, financial confident woman, she's making life happen for her. She's happening to life. And so these conversations are ones she's having because she wants to always know she's maximizing the moment. She's living life to the fullest possible. She's milking all of the joy she could possibly milk from life. And money is one of those topics that brings a lot of stress, even when on the surface it looks good. So to talk about stuff that is hidden, that it's unstable, even when things look good because you're making a lot of money, you're making good money, it's essential. Because everything looking fine doesn't mean everything feels fine. And that is the rub. And usually these conversations are needed because everything looks fine, but something always feels off. And so we're going to go way deeper than just that Band-Aid that we put on and kind of blend in with the remainder of the world. We're not those type of people. We're the people that go deep. And let's go deep today. All right, let's dive in. I'm going to start with an analogy. So I want you to think about a woman who's dating a man, and on paper, he looks perfect. He is he's checking all the boxes, right? He's like this nice guy, he's very generous, everybody loves him. And she thinks to herself, he's stable, he's responsible, my family approves of him. I should be grateful. I should be happy. He's great. But what she's experiencing, if she was honest with herself, if she really sat down and really examined what is happening inside of her body, she would realize that she's not fully satisfied. Not to the full. She's feeling misaligned. There's something missing. Something feels off. There's a little bit of a disconnect that she can't put a finger on, but it's there, right? It's nagging at her. But here's what most women do. They rationalize it. Like I said, she's thinking to herself, I should be grateful. A lot of women do this. I should be happy I have such a good man. And she runs from the truth. Now, here is what's really happening that she has to acknowledge. This man who looks so good on paper, he is still not meeting her personal standard. He's not matching what she needs and what she wants and what she's looking for. And she has not been honest about that. She has not faced that because she hasn't sat down to recognize, what do I really want? And is he a match? This is exactly what women do with money, step by step. On paper, you're making great money. Your lifestyle is affordable because you make great money. So you can pay everything you say you put your eye on. You have incredible savings. You can even be at multiple six figures of savings. That's awesome. But if you really sat down to check in with yourself from deep connection and really real, true self-love, you would recognize there's a lack of clarity, there's a lack of control, and there's a lack of security. And instead of looking at those things, you do what most women do. You rationalize, you explain it away, you cover up with more money, you tell yourself what you want, you should have because you have money, and you pretend you're fully happy. But there is a disconnect that if you were honest, it's there. And the financially confident woman, she taps in. When she hears that tiny little whisper, she taps in. She notices the disconnect, even if she can't put her finger on it. And this is exactly the stuff I talk about in my masterclass, How to Spend Your Money Guilt-Free, that I host on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In this class, I teach women how to feel clear with their money without the overwhelm. I teach you how to let go of any level of avoidance when it comes to money, whether it's traditional avoidance or sophisticated avoidance. I teach you how to spend your money that feels so in alignment with who you are, so that doesn't require any level of guilt. Again, and this class is how to spend your money guilt-free. And if you want to find out more, the link is in the show notes. You would need to go to greenwealthlegacy.com/confidence. So here is what's really happening. And the problem here is not your income. It's not your money, how much money you make. That's the problem. What's going on here, the real rub, the real issue here is a lack of structure and a lack of intention when it comes to your money. Really understanding, I have gotten to a place in my life where I make really good money. This is incredible. I teach my women how to build different money skills, and the skill of generating money and creating money is a powerful skill a woman ought to build, right? And you've built that skill. Even if you did it unintentionally, I teach you how to own that so that you can repeat it. So you have that skill, you know how to make money coming in, but if you don't see that there's a lack of structure and a lack of intentionality, then you don't feel like you're actually struggling, because the truth is there's no visible struggle. You look good. You're spending money. You're not necessarily drowning in debt, right? You're not living and dreading the next phone call thinking it's collection coming in. No, you don't have that problem. But the real struggle here is because there's no alignment to how you're spending your money versus what really matters to you. There's that disconnect that is sitting within our soul, right? And here's what's so amazing about the way we were designed as humans, which is why this conversation is essential for you. We were designed with an internal compass that guides us through our individual lives. For me, my values, what matters to me, it's what's unique to me, and the same for you. So if I am taking action in my life and doing things and starting projects and aiming for goals, but it's not in alignment with my inner self, with the compass inside of me, I will sense it. I will know it. And that's that disconnect that I'm talking about. This level of, yes, I'm doing all these things that a woman who's making over six figures should be doing. But when I lay down in bed at night, how do I actually feel? And if there's an internal void, something missing, I want you to address it. Because I was speaking with a woman recently who makes over six figures, and it's a beautiful thing. So she seemed good. She had great savings, looked like she was set. Don't need my help, right? But when we started talking about retirement, that's when the truth came out. Now, you may tell me, listen, I'm young. I don't need to worry about retirement yet. But you need to be thinking about retirement from the moment you start earning your income. That's what life is about, right? You living your life today, being present, but knowing you have so much ahead of you. And so she didn't necessarily have obvious problems, but there was a lack of security and stability when she thought about her future. And when that is the case, your internal compass will nag at you. It will like pull and be like, we're not settled here. Which you want to recognize, we all have different stages of life. If this level of income where you're at is not where you've always been, then you are in a new chapter of your life that I want you to recognize. Then there are things you need to put in place to support you. And that is why your inner compass is like making the noise, because it's recognized you've gone to the next level. Let's address the problems we face at this level. At this level, we're not worried about credit card debt. We're not worried about collection agency calling us. Maybe not. Maybe we do have debt. What I want you to recognize is if your inner compass, if there's a noise inside of you, a void, a disconnect, even if it's slight, it's essential that you address it. Because when I talked to this woman, she didn't have a plan. She didn't have a direction. She did not feel fulfilled 100% that I know what I'm doing. And that is something to be addressed. because she was still running on a belief system that I see what I want, I buy what I want because I can. And when that is what's running in the background, there will be that disconnect because this belief system isn't moving her to address the current stage of issues she's at based on her income level. So her income has gone up, but her identity hasn't caught up. So if there's a level of any of what I'm saying is showing up for you, I want you to really ponder over what's needed here. And I'm going to break it down for you in this episode. So because at this level, income becomes a buffer for you. It's creating a buffer. It's really distracting you from the lack of efficient spending and decisions that are not backed by your values. They're backed by your emotions in the moment. And when we're driven by our brain, and our brain loves a good efficient process, so you're making a lot of money, your brain is like, yeah, let's have all the fun, right? And if that's what's running in the background, then you do not have a financial decision framework that matches the level of income you're making right now. So you really don't feel an urgency to take care of any money problems you may be needing, any future plan you need to create. And this false sense of security, this lack of urgency is what needs to be addressed. Because the truth is, it's not that there's no problems, that everything is fine, because it's not fine. It's just hidden underneath the great income you're receiving every single month, that you're receiving every single year. So what's happening here that you need to see is that making lots of money, making great income does not equal using that money well. And using money well isn't based on what I say is using well, isn't based on my prescription to you about how you should spend your money. Using money well means that the inner compass is aligned. There's no noise. There's no void. Remember that illustration about the woman dating the man? When you match yourself to the man that matches you for your values and what is actually on your checklist, not what everyone says it should be acceptable, there is such a beautiful match underneath the surface of, oh, you guys look good together. Even at night when you're sleeping, you're feeling content, you're feeling satisfied, you're feeling secure. And security doesn't come from a high income. Security comes from knowing you're matching what's happening on the outside and what's happening on the inside is lining up. And it feels so peaceful. It feels so righteous, so glorious. So if there's anything nagging about money behaviors, habits, maybe your saving rate isn't where you want it to be. Maybe you don't even know your saving rates. Because if you don't know your saving rate, then you don't really know what you're capable of. You don't know your potential. Because again, if you're making a lot of money and you're saving, like this woman I was talking to with multiple six figures in the savings account, you may think, oh, I'm great. But what if you could make twice as much? What if the same skills you have right now that are creating this level of income, the same skill, nothing changing, are able to create twice as much income as you're making now, and you could save 3 times as much money that you're saving? What if you could be the auntie that is the generous auntie just because she wants to be? Not because emotionally she feels forced to, not because she's making more money than everybody else in the family, but because she wants to. Because let me tell you something, nothing worse, nothing can be worse than coming at the end of your working years and looking back and realizing I could have made way more money. I made a lot of money, but I did not use it well. Not because I didn't know how to, but because I wasn't intentional about how I was using my money. Because at that point, you can't go backwards. Yesterday in my membership, Money Academy, we had a special training that I did on really planning who you're becoming as a financial confident woman. And the root of that planning is in your past. And I love talking about the fact that I love a good sci-fi movie, because in sci-fi world, when you go out in the universe, in different planets, you could do anything you want. You could die and come back to life. You could change your body into whatever you want. You could travel from one dimension to another. You could go to from Earth 1 to Earth 2. You can go back in time. You can travel back to time. You can pick the date. Like, let me go back 50 years. And I love that so much. That's my favorite thing about time travel and sci-fi movies, because anything is possible. Everything is possible. But as humans, real humans in real life, that's not the case. You can't travel back in time. So, how would it feel for you to use your money so intentionally with so much purpose that when you look back, when it's actually time that you're no longer creating income, that the income coming in, it's something that you set up so powerfully that it's taking care of you. It might even outlast you. And but you're looking back and thinking, it's not about the money. It's about me having tapped into my potential and having lived life to the fullest with no regrets. How would that feel, my friend? Like, really sit with that. Because really, what I'm talking about is you giving your money direction. And that starts with you giving yourself direction. And then the money just follows. So having everything look good, that's a facade. I want you to lift that facade, lift that cover, and see what's underneath all of it. Look at it. Pay attention to it. Because again, this is not about lack of income. It's about a lack of intentional direction. Where is the money going, right? So at this point, the problem isn't your income, as I mentioned. It's not your effort either. Because remember, I don't want you to think you need to work a lot to make way more money. I'm not telling you to be after the money. But what I want you to pay attention to is your approach. Because what I want for you is to be able to move from reacting to money. Because right now, what is going on inside of you is you're thinking to yourself, I should probably look at this more closely. I don't really fully feel in control. I don't actually know what I'm building towards. And if you have any of these questions or any cousins of these type of questions, what I want you to do is notice your approach. That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we're going to look at. And then if you can look at your approach, you're going to move away from being reactive to being intentional, from being in the spending mindset to directing, right? Because the art of spending money is a skill that you can learn. And part of that is knowing how to direct your money to what matters to you. It's having money to leading the money, because again, money is the tool. But the way you've been living right now feels more like your financial decisions are driven by comfort, convenience, and habits, which takes you out of self-leadership. You're kind of like at the effect of money because you know how to create money. So now you're kind of just using it, but you're not understanding that you got to direct it. And that is self-leadership. My word of the year is leadership. Just really leading my life into what I want, instead of kind of like being moved by the river or by the currents. Everyone is going this way and it's just always going this way. And I'm just going. It's like, no. What do I want? Leadership is really tapping in, listening to yourself, understanding what is important to you, whether it matches with what the world says is important, it doesn't matter. So, and this is why I was able to honestly, and feels amazing, feels abundant. And that's another thing you want to recognize is like, yes, I'm making a lot of money and I'm spending money and it feels great. But then when I have to spend money on certain other things, it doesn't feel as great. Then there's work to be done there, because spending money for all the things should feel incredibly exciting as much as receiving all of the money. Money is a flow you want to be able to nurture. When it's going, you should be grateful and excited and appreciative. When it's coming, grateful, excited, and appreciative. You want to keep that vibration, that emotional connection really high for all of the flow of money. Not just when it's coming. Not just when you're spending on things you think are amazing. I have one of my coaches that calls that a full pleasure. spending or doing things that supposedly bring pleasure but have a net negative. And a net negative is when you recognize, yes, I may be saving all the money, because if I'm making a lot of money, yes, I probably automated some type of saving. But if deep down I can look and recognize this, I could do better, I could do more because of what I really want, then that's a net negative. And that's why it's hidden, because you're doing all the things, you're checking all the boxes, but you haven't tapped in to listen to what your body wants. Self-leadership is where I'm taking you. I want you to fill the gap between what is supposed to be okay versus what you really want. So you can move away from like reactive spending, having money, to intentional directing and leading your money. Because the precision here at this level is where your security is built. I mentioned earlier, there are different levels. You're at a level of income earning where you want to be very precise. And this starts with clarity. So I want you to ask yourself 3 powerful questions that are going to help you identify what's really going on with your body. Like, what do you really want? The first question is, what does my ideal life actually cost? So really do the math. In my programs, I teach my clients to look at their finances and their spending plan from different tiers. So you could try to create a spending plan for like the essentials that keep you alive. So you will probably just have like the baseline spending plan. And then you want to think about when there's extra money and you can include other things that are not essential for life. Maybe a pedicure here and there, maybe a movie theater, something extra that if you don't have it, you're not going to die. And then the third tier is what's luxury looks like. Like you're having a money just pouring in and you could do all the things. What does that look like when you're creating a spending plan with this level, at this level? So I want you to recognize that's what that question is going to help you appreciate. What is my ideal life? That's the luxury level. Actually cost. Sit down and do the math. Where is my money going right now? And do I like it? That's question number 2. That second part, really, you may need to sit with that for a few days. Do you like how you're spending money right now? Do you really ponder over that? Third question, if I stopped working, would I feel secure or uncertain? And listen, trust the answer that comes up. Listen, don't overcomplicate these questions. They're not, I mean, you could take a few days to find the answer to them. That's fine. But don't try to tell yourself, is that the answer? Whatever comes up, that's the answer. Trust yourself. Answer honestly. Believe in your answer, because you're absolutely allowed to want more in life, my friend. You're allowed to want freedom. You're allowed to want to be more intentional, to be more aligned in how you live and how you use your money. But I want you to know, as a financially confident woman, if that's what you're aiming for, then you want to realize that you are the one that will be responsible to design that, right? Pay attention to that. You want all of these things. And I always teach my women to want all of these things, want all the things. I wrote an email recently to my email list and I said, keep your hopes up. All of them. Have them all up. We're taught not to keep our hopes up, not to have our hopes up. Don't hope too much. Don't be unrealistic. No. Wrong. Be as, what's the word? Be as audacious as possible with what you want. Just know you create it. It doesn't just happen. Okay? So dream wild, have all the hopes up, and then go to work and make it happen. Because if you realize that you're not really good at making this happen, your dreams, what you really want, and then that makes you shrink back and realize, maybe I shouldn't want this because I actually don't know how to make that happen. That is going to go back to that void you're sensing and that nagging feeling from your inner compass. So that is the reason why I'm hosting my masterclass, because I teach women there how to stop starting over with the money, to listen to their inner voice, and then creating a system that realizes the dreams they have and teaches them that what they dream is actually doable and how to make that happen. So you want to learn how to take moves that take you forward to the dreams, the vision that you have, versus just kind of filling in these boxes that society says you should fill in, or your environment, and then still feeling kind of empty inside. So if you're interested in this masterclass, I host it on Thursday at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And you will need to go to greenwealthlegacy.com/confidence to sign up. Let me leave you with this. What if there was more to life than just spending what you make without ever questioning it? Like, you never have to question your spending, because that's not all there is to your life. That's not all you're doing with your money. You're doing so much more. What if your money was actually building something meaningful? What if you could identify something meaningful for your money to build and actually go to town and make it happen? And that thing would be something that reflects who you are, what matters to you. Because income creates flexibility. Structure is what actually creates security. And if your money isn't structured, you're currently relying on flexibility. That's short-lived. Long-term, you want something that's sustainable, because flexibility isn't what creates confidence. Having lots of money isn't what creates confidence. What creates confidence is knowing where your money is going, why it's going there, and how it's building the life that you say you want. So if you've been telling yourself that you make good money, so you're fine, I want you to look again. I want you to pay attention to that little tiny whisper. Not because you're afraid. I don't teach fear. I teach self-leadership. So you're going to tap in and listen from ownership. Because the goal is not just to make money. You've gotten to a really incredible place, and I'm so proud of you for that. The goal is to lead your money well. Because when you lead your money well, there's no uncertainty. There's only grounded confidence. And if you don't, your income is going to keep growing because you have the skill, but your clarity won't. And if you're listening to this and you think there's something in what I said that is resonating with you, a tiny little thing, remember, we're tapping in so that we can pick up on the tiny little vibration. Don't sit with it. Really come into the room where we're addressing exactly that. This work we do together inside of my masterclass, How to Spend Your Money Guilt-Free. In this masterclass, I'm going to teach you how to move from reacting to your money to actually leading it. I would love to see you there. You will need to go to greenwealthlegacy.com/confidence so that you can join us live. I want to leave you with one more extra love note. Really celebrate how far you come. I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of myself. I am proud for the women that do not sit at the status quo and really put in the effort and the identity shifting necessary to get to where they want to go, whether that's financially, whether that's in your life. But I want you to love yourself deeper than just surface level and tap into that inner voice that is whispering that you haven't even started tapping into your potential yet. And as you listen to her, you're going to discover a level of self-love you didn't recognize was possible for you. I've been there. I know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I've enjoyed this conversation. Until I see you in the next episode, I want you to go out in the world and design your life on purpose.